My name's Arthur Karkner, and I'm a director of the Workers' History Museum. And on January 31st, I attended a consultation meeting in the evening at the Museum of Civilization as it is now, which is about to be changed into the Canadian Museum of History. I would estimate there were 60 to 70 people in the audience. There were people from the local museum community. There were some people from other federal museums, like the Currency Museum. And this process is intended to inform how the new museum will treat not only Canadian history, but other history. I guess the first concern that we identified was that we know that the Labor Temple, the Winnipeg General Strike Room, is going to be eliminated. So we asked the direct question, does this mean that Canadian workers are being written out of history? They did say in response that the point had been raised in other consultations across the country, and they reassured us that there would be a representation of labor in the new version of the museum. We stressed in terms of our values, and I wasn't just critical of what they said. They have said in their website and in their public information that they don't want to just be an elite representation of Canadian society or other societies. And we certainly stress that as a museum, we agree with that position. We don't want to have a history about powerful white men. Another area that we wanted to identify with them was that history doesn't start 100 years ago. That when you look at issues like the penetration of women into the labor market, the development of paid maternity leave, when you look at the example that when Johnny came marching home in 1946, Janie went marching out of the office or the factory, that when school teachers began to show pregnancy, they had to leave, when even the federal government and banks, when women married, right up into the early 60s, women had to resign. We thought that a contemporary audience needs to know things like that, and when they hear the siren song of we need to get back to traditional values, they need to have a good bit of information as to exactly what that consisted of. In other areas, we tried to make linkages between our thematic material, like family leave. Would the new museum be an electronic platform? If we were to provide a copy of our bilingual video, which has a national scope, would that be possible? That could be linked to the Canadian public through the museum's website. If we wanted to take our family leave display or our Britannia, the People's Playground, would display space be opened up? And that was kind of linked with another issue. Are we a region? When they say they want to reach out to regions, is the National Capital Region the hole in the donut? Do they mean they want to have more stuff from Alberta and Nova Scotia? Or do they mean that even if you can take a bus to get to the museum, you're still considered a region? The last point that was raised, and raised several times and got a lot of agreement around the table, is if you have $25 million, hire people. If you're going to have young people going through and studying museology and history and all kinds of related disciplines, who come out with big student loans and then they end up being baristas, with all due respect to baristas, that's not what they took their education for. They have money now, hire people. The process did have some flaws. I left feeling more positive than I went in. It's important that people go out and not be silent, that groups in the community come out. So if I were going to say something to people who were watching this on the museum website or any other audience, is that the museum is still accepting comments over their website. Also, not to forget the political process, whether you have a government member or whether you have an opposition member as your local MP. It's fine to have a consultative process, but there's also a democratic process. And if you have concerns about what's going on or not going on, it's important that you contact your elected representative and you tell them what your view is. Tell them that museums matter to you. And if you have misgivings about the direction of this project, well, now's the time to talk about that.